Mr. Fix-It with the Bed Shed Kilbeggan. Need a new bed or mattress? Our helpful and experienced team will be only too happy to guide you to the best choice for you. Find the Bed Shed on Facebook and Instagram.
Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Will. How are we?
We are fine.
Good.
We are not looking at each other directly, so that always helps.
It's a big bonus for me, let me tell you. Although I'm looking at Peter here at the moment, it's not much of an improvement, I'm sorry to say.
Do you insult everybody equally?
More or less, yeah. Yeah, more or less. Including, complete strangers in the shop, which then I point to a sign that we have over the in the shop that says, the way we're all about advice. So the sign says, a word of advice, don't bring your feelings into Cloonan's. And then they get it. But of course, there's never malice. The funny thing is, the person I don't like, I won't insult at all. You don't really do that.
That's a real Irish trait,
isn't it?
though.
Yeah.
If we like you, we'll slag you.
Yeah. It's like, I know I've said this before, I just love the one that when a crowd of Irish lads go out for the night, they insult each other all night long, but they don't really mean it. And then when a crowd of Irish women go out for the night, they compliment each other all night long. And
they don't really mean it.
You said that, not me. You said that. By the way, the way we often, all of us, give out about our government and our local government and our councils and whatever. It just occurred to me today on the way here that one of the hidden things that I'm sure it's all over the Midlands, all the major traffic lights are censored. So if there's no cars, if there's a line of 20 cars, the minute the 20th car is at the lights go red. So there's no build-up. You're not sitting at a light watching no traffic go by in the opposite direction. And I don't know what it costs, but it just makes such a difference to traffic. And we probably don't give enough credit to the councils for putting it in. Now, there's plenty of times I'll give out about the councils, but for once, it just occurred to me, it makes such a difference to traffic.
Yes, and then you become envious if you don't have that system near you and you're waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah, it's very frustrating to wait at traffic lights, looking at nothing coming, in the opposite direction at all.
Let's get down to beeswax. So Sean in Portarlington says, my first question to Brian, which implies that we're going to
there's going to be a list.
How to remove a brown burn mark from a cream ceramic stove? As a fellow countryman, it miders me just to look at it.
So one or two things. The first thing you'll try is a slightly abrasive paste. So I would always, with any stain like that, what I would do is I would tape around it with insulating tape or silage tape, a strong tape that won't leave any glue behind or any mark behind. And the reason being that when you remove that stain, you may get all of the brown off, but the surface could be slightly altered, as in it could be a duller finish, particularly if it's a high gloss enamel that's on it. So a very uneven shaped, like a big uneven blob, is now it's still less unsightly than the brown stain, but it's more eye-catching than a square or a triangle or whatever, usually a square. So if you create the square and then you're only cleaning that square, and I think it'll be less noticeable. So, and the context would be that if you had a mark on the top of that and it's the size of a euro coin, you don't want a big mark where you've rubbed a much bigger area than you needed to rub, the size of a coffee cup, that's now slightly duller, if that makes sense. So the first thing is tape around it. And then I would try any of the metal polishes. So if you have ceramic hob cleaner, if you have a ceramic hob, you could use that. If you have T-cut, you could use that for your car. If you have Peak or Chic or any of those aggressive polishes for cleaning brass. So any of those slightly aggressive things that have a very fine abrasive aspect to it will probably take it off. Now, if that doesn't work, you're then going to get some, again, tape it off and get some super, super, super fine emery paper. I would say 1200 or even 2000 grade, maybe go 2000 grade emery paper, which you'll get in a motor factories. Now, it feels like paper. It feels like newspaper or, A4 paper. It doesn't feel like sandpaper. But
there is abrasion there nonetheless.
Exactly. So what you're doing is, if you look at the enamel that's on that stove, it's probably 2 millimeters thick, and you're going to take off 1/100th of the 2 millimeters. That top little bit that's stained, and leave the rest. And if you polish it up really well, you should get it back to exactly the same as the rest, but maybe a fraction duller, and that's why you're taping it off.
I may have asked you this before, but what is the scale for emery paper? How big are the numbers and how small are the numbers?
So the smallest would be about 24, and then I think 2000 is the finest, but I'm sure I'll be corrected. I'm sure there's finer again available. And when I was learning my trade in Dublin many years ago, I was told, probably no truth to it whatsoever, but it's a great way of remembering, which is the high number, the fine one, or is the low number, the fine one. And I was told it's the amount of grains of sand per square inch. So 24 only has 24 grains, and they're bigger grains per square inch, whereas the 2000, obviously to have 2,000 grains of sand per square inch, they have to be tiny to fit them all on. And that's how you remember. No truth, I'm sure, but great way of remembering.
So, just reading from Jackie in Mullingar, she wants to remind you and me that Santa is listening, so we have to behave and dial down some of the usual insults that we would hurl each other.
Good luck with that. I think Santa is a very understanding, and he knows that while, we do insult each other, you really love me and it's fine.
Yeah, you just keep telling yourself that, and I won't let you down. Now, my brother lost his wallet at the weekend, says Julianne in Glasson. So if anybody finds it, he lost it in the Ballymahan area. His name is Patrick. We have his full details here at Midlands 103, but there's nothing really of value in it. But she says his social welfare card, if he could get that back, that would be very, very much appreciated. So if you happen to come across a wallet in Ballymahan and the cards inside are in the name of Patrick, then give me a call here at Midlands 103.
Will, do you use a wallet?
I do, actually.
And have you your telephone number, name and phone number in it?
No.
No, either have I. And every time I hear a story like this, I promise myself the minute I leave here, I'm going to go out and put it in my wallet.
Wouldn't that be such a sensible thing to do?
If found, please phone. And the other thing, and I promise, next time I'm in here, I'm going to have it done. The other thing I promise to do is put down the numbers that I need to contact. As in, if you lose your phone, how many numbers do you know? If you need to phone another member of the family, how many have you memorised? We just don't seem to do that and have that facility anymore in our brains to memorise numbers. And if you lost your phone and you needed to phone someone to, pick you up or do something, how many numbers have we memorised? There's very few. My father was amazing. I remember my son Barry came home from Australia, and Paddy was 88 years of age. And Barry arrived home after a few years, and he had a new phone because the old phone was gone. And he said to Paddy said, "What's your new number?" And Barry called out the number, and Paddy just recited the number 3 times to himself. And that's it. Had it. Like, if you asked him in 3 weeks' time, what's Barry's number? He had it.
Well, some people have that skill.
Yeah.
My mother, she used to work in the civil service. So anytime...
That's where you got your work ethic.
People, Cloonan, you just effed up, boy. Whoops. You in trouble now, man. Next time you go to the county council office.
Yeah.
Next time you go into the hospital.
I have a friend in the civil service, so that's why that came out. I always slag him. It's not true,
but
actually.
I could ask her for an application number for something from 30 years ago.
Wow.
She will remember it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how some people's brains work.
Yeah.
Unlike ours. Now, stay there for a moment because we have a lot of questions to get through and we only have another half hour because it's just gone 10:30.
Mr. Fix-It with a Bedshed Kilbeggan. Quality, choice and value you can't beat. With over 80 beds, headboards and mattresses to suit all budgets. Find the Bedshed on Facebook and Instagram.
Brian Cloonan, the man in the bullseye now for civil servants across the Midlands. He is with us until 11 o'clock, assuming he survives. I have, by the way, a message from a listener who actually agrees with you because of the story in Geishel today, where the new AstroTurf, which was installed at great expense, cannot open. They've had to lock the gates because Offaly County Council hasn't put the insurance in place. But more on that a bit later.
Well, I will point out I started the hour by complimenting civil servants in the County Council. There you go.
He taketh with one hand, he giveth with another. Joe says, tell the person with the stain problem to try Brasso, and it will work if you work it in.
Yeah, that's what we're saying, a metal polish. All the metal polishes tend to be slightly abrasive. Now, the cream ones tend to be more abrasive. So maybe he's probably dead right. Start with the less abrasive one first, which would be the Brasso. And then if that doesn't work, move up to one of the stronger ones. Yeah, great.
Now, our next, this is actually quite a happy message, except for the problem. So, son is coming home from New Zealand next Monday.
Oh, great.
First time back in years.
Ah, fantastic.
Unfortunately, we weren't diligent enough in checking on his car, which he had left at our house. So it has been idle for 6 months. Now, I have turned it on regularly otherwise, and I did let it run. However, that's the engine, and the mould on the inside I didn't notice until now, particularly around the back seats and on the roof. I need to deal with this before he comes home. What is the best way?
Yeah, so I mean, if ever you're storing a car like that, if you have the facility to park it in a shed with the windows slightly open, it is always the best thing to do. But, you know, most of us don't have a shed or a garage or whatever that we can store it in. But sometimes if you know somebody who has one that, you know, you could ask around and see could somebody have space to put it in. But in this case, what I would say, it depends on whether the mould is white mould or black mould. So white mould will be kind of furrier. It's more raised on the surface as opposed to the black mould, which is right in the material. Now, either way, you do the same thing, which is before you start rubbing at it with a cloth or with liquid or whatever, you give it a hoovering. You try and remove as much of the spores because it's a fabric. Well, the seats are fabric, I presume, but because it's a fabric, if you rub it, you can sometimes rub the stain into the fabric. So by giving it a good hoovering first, so you're gently hoovering, you're kind of putting the hoover surface, the round bit of the hoover, straight down on it, as opposed to rubbing it back and forth. You're trying to suck away the spores without rubbing them into the material. And then once you've done that, get a mould killer. Not a chlorine-based one, really important. Make sure it's chlorine-free. So chlorine is what's in bleach, and it will bleach the material. So just check that the one you're getting is safe to use on fabrics. And what I would do is, rather than drench it with that, just get a cloth and either spray it onto the cloth or dip the cloth into a bowl of it and then wring it out really well and just rub it over it to kill the mould. And if you need to go at it, if he's not coming home till next week, leave it for 24 hours and see how it looks then after the mould has been killed. See, you may just hoover it again, might be just enough to take it off. And if not, you may need to get a fabric cleaner and go a bit more aggressively at it. But hopefully that'll be enough to do it.
On the subject of losing things, Shirley in Mount Mellick says a few weeks ago, I mislaid the house keys. 2 keys, silver clasp and a clip hook. So if anybody finds them, please pass on my details. We certainly will. Indeed.
You've never appealed for your lost marbles?
I haven't, because they are irrevocably lost and irreparably damaged. Now, our next question on 083 30 10 103. The government very kindly wrapped our house for us during the summer, says this caller.
The civil servants again doing good work.
I'm sure they actually got a contractor, Brian. I doubt very
true.
much the civil servants came out to do
That's
it.
True.
My house is 38 years old. It definitely made a difference to the heat. Now that the winter has arrived, you have talked before about the amount of condensation on the windows. I didn't believe you until I saw it for myself. What can we do about this?
Yeah, so this is where the government, presumably an older person, and the government provide the scheme where they put external insulation on the walls, and it is a great, great job. But of course, the windows might be 38 years old, or they might be less, but they're obviously older windows. They don't have the, I'm not sure if they're double glazed or not. Whatever they are, you can leave the windows in place if you're happy enough with the quality of the timber, the PVC or whatever it is. You can replace the glass in those windows, be it a single pane of, if they're old timber windows, or if they're PVC, you can take out that pane of glass and put in a much higher rated pane of glass, be it whether it's a single glaze or double glaze in place at the moment, you can still put a double glaze into it. And with the higher rating of glass, it makes such a difference. And you'll probably find you don't need to do every room in the house. Obviously, every room in the house will benefit from it. But you'll probably find it's the rooms that you're using most that really you need to do badly, and you could do a few at a time and pay for it and move on to the next ones then. But it's very, very successful, and it will make even more of a difference to the heat in the house, because obviously if there's that much condensation, it's because the windows are just very, very cold, and now the warm air in the house is even warmer than it was. It wasn't as warm. There was more drafts, and now it's warmer in the house. It has worked really well, and proportionately the glass is much colder, and that's why you're getting the condensation. So it will be even easier to keep the house warm once you put in new double glaze units into it.
Mm. Is there a difference between a mouldy smell and a mouldy smell?
Well, mouldy is definitely said with more venom. You
Yes.
hate the mould even more if it's mouldy. Yeah.
But something can be mouldy and not necessarily mouldy.
Yes, well, in fairness, down through the years here, there was a few times I've known you to be in this studio in the morning and you were definitely mouldy. Quite definitely back in your youth. I remember you being quite mouldy here. One day in particular, I just had to keep talking because you really weren't fit to talk.
I resent the remark back in your youth.
But you resemble the rest of it.
I can't deny it now. Kevin in Portlaoise, we'll go with mouldy. He says, we've had a mouldy smell in my son's bedroom for some time, and I couldn't see anywhere that was suspect until I pulled out the wardrobe. Now, there's a lot of mould on the back wall of the wardrobe, and indeed some on the back of the bed once I pull them away from the wall. So, what to do?
Yeah, this is quite a common problem, and I'd suggest to anybody living in an older house that you just check, behind the bed in particular, because the problem with the bed is that it's always the head of the bed that's against the wall, and if there's a build-up of mould there, you're putting your head beside that every night, and you are, whether you know it or not, breathing in mould spores, and they're really not good for you, particularly if you have any underlying condition at all. If you have asthma, if you've even just a dose on you, it will make it worse. So it's a good idea for any of us just to pull out the bed and have a look and see, and is there any mould there? So what it suggests in this case is that we always say kill the mould, so get a mould killer and apply it according to the instructions and leave it for 24 hours and then wash everything down. Again, if you're using it on the bed, do not use a chlorine-based one because it'll destroy the fabric. And the other ones, any of the other ones tend to be a better killer of mould as opposed to just make it look as though it's disappeared. And then what I suggest you do is just get a piece of dry lining. You can buy it in, I think it's 4 foot by 2 foot sheets or whatever, and just get a thin one, maybe 25 mil. You don't need any plaster on it, and just cut it. You can cut it with a bread knife. You can cut it with a handsaw. You can cut it with sharps. If you have a good standing knife, you can cut it, and just cut it to the very same size of the head of the bed. And you won't see it. It'll be down below, between the bed and the wall, between the wardrobe and the wall. But now you've provided an insulation between the two, and you should be absolutely fine. After you've washed off the material and washed off the back of the wardrobe, reapply a second coat of the mould killer to leave a trace of it behind to stop the mould from reforming.
Plenty of options there. Good to know. Our top prize this week is with thanks to Dave's Chimney Services. He's offering you a free chimney survey and cleaning service worth €330. Local, reliable service, keeping homes safe and fire ready for Christmas. And all you have to do is send a text or a WhatsApp telling me, what is the funniest reason that Santa got stuck in your chimney last year? And just attach your name and where you're listening. If you've already entered this week, you do not have to do so again. But thank you for all of the messages. Brian Cloonan, Mr. Fix-It, continues after these.
Mr. Fix-It with the Bed Shed Kilbeggan. Need a new bed or mattress? Our helpful and experienced team will be only too happy to guide you to the best choice for you. Find the Bed Shed on Facebook and Instagram.
Still to discuss today, why an important waste facility is still closed as Christmas approaches and thousands of households need to use it. The brand new Astro pitch that can't open because Offaly County Council hasn't put insurance in place. And Christmas spending is up year on year across the country. But how are retailers in the Midlands finding it? Are there variations? Now, Brian Cloonan is still with us from Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore, so our next question for you, Brian. Over the last few days, I've noticed a water stain on the ceiling around my Velux window. And when I investigated it, I can see cracks in the LED flashing around the Velux. What does Brian think is the best way of dealing with this?
Well, a week before Christmas, I think the best way is just get one of the... So when you have a window like that, you need to seal it with something that stops the water from coming in. So they usually use lead because it's something similar that will basically keep the water... It has to be something a little bit flexible, and lead is it's a very flexible metal. But the problem is with age, it can become a little bit porous, it can become cracked. So you will get various... you want a fairly thick one, and you make sure it sticks to lead. So a lot of roof sealers or gutter sealers are not designed for lead. They'll stick to metal, but lead is a very difficult one to stick to. So what I would say is really important that you clean the lead first with a bit of fine sandpaper or a bit of fine emery paper or a bit of steel wool, and that's just to make sure that there's no green algae and gunk and dirt on it. Because if you put on a sealer and it's only putting it down on top of a film of grease that's there, a film of build-up of over time, it's not sticking to the lead directly, so therefore it'll end up peeling away. So clean it first and then use, I don't know, Evercryl. There's a load of different ones out there. Just make sure it sticks to lead and brush it on good and thick, and honestly, you'll get years out of it. You won't need to replace the lead at all, because taking on replacing the lead could be a big job for someone at this time of the year.
I don't think we've had this one before. Is there a way to stop birds, their watering bowls, from freezing overnight?
There has to be.
But you don't want to put antifreeze in it.
Definitely not.
Birdwatch Ireland would not approve.
No, but Birdwatch Ireland would be the one to ask that question. Yeah, I don't know, I'm afraid. Hopefully someone listening will come in with some ingenious plan to deal with that. Okay,
next. Is bubble wrap around pots a good idea, or does it just trap in the cold?
If you leave it on permanently, it'll trap in the cold. I mean, what you would be doing, this is flower pots, I presume, stop the frost getting into the soil. It's I don't know. Really, the frost comes from the top down. So sometimes you'd see people who really they're really care for their plants, and you'd see them putting a couple of bamboo canes. So say you have a shrub that's 3 foot high and you don't want the frost to take it, you'd put in a bamboo cane sticking out 3.5 foot out of the pot or out of the ground, and then you'd throw bubble wrap or fleece over it, and that's really enough to do. And if it's going to be a very frosty night and it's a very delicate plant, then that's what you do.
Elizabeth was admiring her outside plastered wall, lovely white colour. And then a bird pooed on it. She's wondering, what's the best way to remove that? Because obviously she's sensitive about her wall and not damaging it.
I'd always say 9 times out of 10, a little bit of washing up liquid, brush it on with a paintbrush, neat, leave it for about 20 minutes, and then just get a scrubbing brush and give it a scrub and hose it off well, and that will be fine. If it's more difficult to use, if it's really just not coming off, it's there a long time and not coming off, you could try a little bit of oven cleaner, spray it on or brush it on, and again, just leave it to soften everything up. But I think you'll find any detergent, sugar, soap, washing up liquid, even, if you have any liquid for your washing machine at home, any detergent will soften it, but you have to give it about 20 minutes just to soften it up, and then give it a scrub with hot water and hose it off. I think you'll find it'll be 100%.
Gillian, that is a very dirty reason that Santa got stuck in the chimney.
Oh, stop.
I cannot read that message out, but thank you, it is in the draw. Definitely. Okay. Will and Brian, I recently read an article that to prevent a bird's water freezing at night, that if you place a tennis ball in the water, it will float around and keep the water moving.
That's very good. That makes
Somebody
sense.
else had suggested salt.
Oh, no.
I don't think the birds would appreciate that,
Salt,
but certainly
no.
the tennis ball isn't going to interfere.
That's a great idea.
Another person suggests to prevent flower pots from freezing, you could use, so this is from Jason in Tullamore. Yes, you could use the salt, he says, at night time to prevent the flower pots from freezing. Would the salt
don't forget,
damage...
sometimes people use salt as a weed killer. So just be very careful. You don't want it going into the soil that your plant is growing in. So I'm not quite sure whether I'm not sure how that would work. Maybe Jason could clarify that for us.
All right, one more. Can you make a leaf mould bin from pallets or chicken wire?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, the only thing is, remember that compost likes air and it likes heat. So if you're building one of these, try and put it somewhere sunny as opposed to somewhere very shaded, because we always tend to try and hide these away where they're not very visible, and that often tends to be the spot in the garden that no one uses because it gets no sunlight. And then, of course, if it gets no sunlight, the compost takes forever to break down. So if you're making your own compost heap, try and just every now and again just get a fork and fork it up and down to let the air into it. So there used to be, I don't know if they're still available, there used to be a compost bin that you could turn like a churn. So you put the compost in, and then every day you just turned it once, and all the compost fell from the top of the bin to the bottom of the bin, which meant air got into it, and that sped up the process dramatically. And then the other thing, if you're making a compost heap, probably just treat yourself to buy a compost accelerator powder. And what you do is every now and again when you're throwing in particularly grass or anything like that, or leaves, you'd sprinkle in a little bit of the compost accelerator, and that dramatically speeds up how quickly the compost breaks down, so that you can use it relatively quickly rather than waiting for years for it to break down.
Excellent. Our time is up, Brian, but we'll chat again, or will we, next week? Have to work that one out.
Okay. Thanks, Will.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks.
David Hollywood brings you the final hour of the programme after these.